Let's talk about it. So I came across this creator's page, and she was talking about how she's in the book of Leviticus, and she's just reading it, and she went on to talk about how how they had to do blood sacrifices, right? They had to sacrifice animals or whatever have you in order to make atonement for their sin. And then she went on to say how if she was back then, she would have made it because she couldn't cut nothing. And then she also went to say how she is so grateful for Jesus' sacrifice. And I love coming across videos that prompt me to like do some more digging and do some reading. And we have to definitely always keep in mind like what Jesus Christ did, like what his ultimate sacrifice was. And back in the time, they had to sacrifice lambs, whatever they had sheep, whatever they had to sacrifice. If they committed a sin, they had to sacrifice because it was in the shedding of the blood that covered the sin. And let's look at Leviticus chapter 17, verse 11. Here the Lord is talking to Moses, and he's breaking down the blood atonement. In verse 11, he said, "For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you on the altar to make atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that makes atonement by reason of the life which it represents. Without the shedding of that blood, whatever sin was committed or whatever would have not been forgiven. There had to be some shedding. And thanks be unto God that he put something in place of us, right, to shed its blood. So let's go to Jesus' sacrifice. Thanks be unto God for Jesus' selfless act. And back then, when they committed these sins, this was like a repetitive thing. Like, it's not one deal that's it. They committed a sin, more blood had to be shed. They committed another sin, more blood had to be shed. So it was not like a one time, bam, thank you, ma'am type of thing. But Jesus Christ loved us so much, he said, I'll go. I'm going to bear all sin. Now, just think of any sin, right, that you've ever committed. On top of anything that you see out in the world, Jesus said, I'll bear all that on the cross. And not only will I take it to the cross, it was nailed to the cross with him. And when they pierced his side and the blood shed, it covered all sin, right? Because without the shedding of the blood, there will be no remission of sin. What is remission? Forgiveness. And Jesus did that, and that was the permanent atonement. He did it, and it will never have to be done again. We won't have to shed no blood because Jesus did it. So I'm grateful for Jesus Christ's sacrifice. I'm grateful that he loved us all so much that he bore all sin, that he bared all sin and took it all to the cross. I'm grateful that his blood was shed and that not only did it put us back in right standing with the Father, give us that opportunity to that door that was open for us to walk uprightly and, now giving us the opportunity to walk in God's will and his way, follow through on our commission and mandate, but his blood is still flowing. It's still healing. It's still redeeming. It's still covering. Thank you, Jesus. I encourage you and encourage us all to never forget his sacrifice. Never forget how much he loves you and get right with God. Until next time, God bless.